Hello there. I'm back. So exciting to be back. I've had a little break. It's been really lovely. Switched off. And before I'd had a break, I was feeling a little bit off, you just feel a bit, I don't know, things just don't feel right. Um, and I've just had the biggest realization last week whilst I've been off about this concept of a silent to-do list. So this is what I want to talk about in this session, because I've been noticing myself and other people feeling really, really overwhelmed, really overwhelmed with life. Let me know. Are you feeling it? Um, it's something that I notice in people that join our membership, and just by chatting to people, it's something that comes up all the time, that I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling a bit off and a bit out of sorts, and I guess feeling quite overwhelmed myself too. So I feel, when you feel like you just need a break, I really did feel like I just need a break. So over Easter, we went away and it was lovely, and took the kids away. And I guess one of the reasons, why we feel overwhelmed is obvious. It's because of the digital world that we live in and all the noise that we live in. But a friend of mine mentioned this silent to-do list, and I was like, that's interesting. So I just registered it. This was a couple of weeks ago. She mentioned it to me, and I didn't think anything of it. And then anyway, went away, and we went to go and see friends up in Yorkshire, and we had the most amazing time. One of my friends has converted her garage into this little guest house. It was so lovely. So me and the kids stayed there, and we had our own little converted garage. And we had barbecues out in the garden. It was just really nice. You just don't have to think, and you don't have to do anything. And so we've had really good fun. And then when it was time to come home, I really didn't want to come home. And I guess this is normal, isn't it? After you have a holiday, you've probably felt like this. Sometimes I do want to get home, sometimes I don't. But this time, I really didn't want to come home, and the kids didn't want to come home either. But that's nothing new. But I really didn't want to come home, and I really, really just felt almost a little bit anxious about coming home. And so, whenever I feel that way, I always reach out to my friend Sharon. Now, I remember getting home and I just walked through the door, and I just remember opening the door and just like, dread, like, that feeling. And I dumped my bags in the hallway and just slumped on the sofa and thought, I just don't want to be here. So I messaged Sharon and I said, do you happen to be around? Do you fancy going to the pub? And she's always busy, but she was free. So I was like, brilliant. Right. So we met at the pub up the road. And I said, I just feel a bit off at the moment. So I just sat talking to Sharon, and I said, I've just had this like really nice time away, and I didn't want to come home. And I just didn't know why. And I just went on to talk about how I was feeling, because I wasn't sure why I was feeling the way I was. And then what I started to talk about was the house. And I said, I think what it is as soon as I walked through the door, it was cold. It's freezing. My house is cold. It's freezing, freezing, freezing cold house, no matter what time of the year, but especially in winter. But even now, I mean, I'm sat here now, I'm frozen to the bone. And it's, it can be 20 odd degrees, 30 degrees outside. It's freezing in this house. And sometimes I have to go outside to warm up. It's that cold. People come here and you have to wear lots of layers if you come to my house. So that was one of the things. I just walked in and it was just that thing that bugs me all the time. And then I just went on to say, And the kitchen cupboards are falling off. Like, I've got three now cupboard doors that just aren't on anymore. I've just got so sick of putting them on again, so I just leave them off so you can get the saucepans without even opening the doors. We've got a lot of damp. There's a lot of damp, and in the hallway, all the paper's peeled off the walls. The skirting boards are going rotten. I could keep going on and on and on. And so all of it started to pour out to Sharon. And when I first met Sharon as well, I said, I feel really ungrateful at the moment, and I'm not sure why. And then I realized that I'm feeling very ungrateful towards my home. And it was a real big realization to share that with her. And then something suddenly dawned on me when my friend had mentioned, this is completely unrelated and by coincidence, the silent to-do list. And so her words popped into my head about this silent to-do list. And so I started to Google it a little bit. And the concept comes from someone called Fumio Sasaki, I think his name is. Fumio Sasaki, Japanese author, has got a book, I think, called Goodbye Things. I've not looked into this properly yet. I don't know anything about the book. Literally just looked into this in the last couple of days. And when I started to look into this concept, it's all around the idea that, you know, we have our own physical to-do list. So I have, as you all know, my post-it notes, and I always have my top 3 things that I'm working on this week and today. So every day I wake up and I've got my 1 to 3 things, and I write them on my list, and I get really focused on doing those things. But we also have the silent to-do list. And the silent to-do list is usually related not just to the things inside your home, but let's just use the home as an example. I mean, I could list like a million things right now. And the concept is by Fumio that every item in your home, every material thing in your home speaks in some way. And this has been quite mind-blowing for me. So everything in the home speaks. And our brains, and we are all programmed very differently. So for some people, this will be much more heightened, and some people, you might not feel this so much. But everything speaks. And so, for example, the plant that you walk past every day might be saying, water me. When did you last water me? You might walk past your wardrobe and there might be something in there that's saying, you know, why haven't you worn me for so long? Or what are you going to wear today? Or the paper that's peeling off every time I walk past it is saying, you still haven't done anything with this. This is annoying now, isn't it? And whether we realize it or not, quite often we're having messages from things in our home, from, it could, you know, the garden, for example. Every time I look out in the garden, there's a big, massive pile of stuff that needs to be taken to the skip. So my view now, I don't see the beauty in the garden anymore. Every time I look out the window where my bird feeder is, which is what I'm usually looking at, I just see all the stuff that's got to go to the skip. Every morning I look out and I go, don't feel, it doesn't make me feel great. I'm not necessarily thinking that's got to go to the skip, that's got to go to the skip, but that is what's going on deep down in my head. So all of these things, this silent to-do list, it's blown my mind, because I'm quite, it's hard to explain how my brain works, because sometimes I don't notice things that need to be done. I kind of am so tunnel vision sometimes. If I've got like a big project that I'm working on, I tend to not see things, but then I think I am seeing them in some way. My brain is clocking that big mountain of stuff that's got to go to the skip. It's weighing me down, even though I'm not thinking about it. And then I go into the art room and there's something else that I'm, so all of these things start chipping away at us. The art material saying, why haven't you used me? Then it can start to cause feelings of guilt and feelings that I'm not good enough and things like, this is all too much. I can't deal with all of this. Sometimes then I think that's why we feel so overwhelmed, but we don't know what we're overwhelmed by. It's the silent to-do list, the thing that's actually weighing us down. So it's been a massive, massive realization to me. And I think now it really does explain why when I was away, I just didn't want to come home and I didn't know why. And now I know why. It was because as soon as I walked through the door, there's the silent to-do list. It's not a physical to-do list. It's the silent to-do list that I just couldn't walk back into and face coming home to. So for me, I don't have all the answers. I'm still going through all of this myself. But one thing that I have, one thing that I've noticed is vacating. But we can't just vacate and go on holiday all the time to escape it, can we? But that's why escaping and just getting away from it really does help. And I think one of the things that I've realized as someone who works from home, and I have the kids at home, I work from home, I'm constantly surrounded by the silent to-do list. So this has made me realize recently that as amazing as working from home is, it really does come with a big heavy weight sometimes, because actually removing myself from this environment is really healthy. So that's one thing that I'm noticing. I think all of this is about becoming self-aware, which I always talk about, being self-aware and noticing when you're feeling a bit off and understanding why. And I think knowing that if you can do small little things, like I can't get away from all the things inside the house, and I can't fix it all either. A lot of it is just too much for me to fix. So one of the things that I talked about with Sharon was the book A Squash and a Squeeze. I don't know if you've come across the story A Squash and a Squeeze. It's a children's story, but it's so good. And it's about a lady who lives in a small house, and she complains that the house is too small. It's too small, it's too small, and keeps focusing on the fact that it's too small. And then she meets a wise man and complains that the house is too small. And the wise man puts in a pig, and the next day puts in a cow, and then the next day puts in another animal. And then at the end of the week, the house is full of animals. And then when the animals vacate, she realizes she has all this space and goes, oh gosh, this is amazing. My house is great. And so it got me thinking about that. And, at this point in time, the house, this silent to-do list is massive in my house. It's huge. And there's a lot of things that are really annoying me. And so what I've decided to do is transfer this around now, reframe it, and starting to see the good things about the house. So Sharon and I sat, and Sharon's great for this. So we just sat and we talked about all the nice things about the house, the quirky things, the things that have fallen apart that have character. And we just sat and talked about all the nice parts of the house, to start having some gratitude. So that's been really helpful. So I've been doing that this week and been grateful to have a house. And then just going back to I've created a bit of a checklist now of how to minimize this silent to-do list. I mean, it's really funny because I sat here as I was preparing to come on this session, and even just through my peripheral right here now, there must be about 50 things speaking to me just from here, just sitting here. There's a load of post-it notes that need picking up. This needs to be put back in the cupboard. There's a load of business cards here that I've made a typo on and I need to go and order some new ones. I made a mistake, had to pay money, can't use them anymore. What am I going to do with these ones now? There's my mind cards here. My mind card sat in front of me that I should be still haven't picked anything out of that. The curtains behind me that my mum said, you really should iron those curtains before you put them up. I didn't. Now I sit here every time I go live thinking I should have ironed those curtains before I put them up. You can see, can't you? Just this example now. There's a post-it note sat here that needs to go in the bin. Every time I sit here, I see that post-it note and I think to myself, that's got to go in the bin, and I don't do it. So under the desk, tip. So I think for me, it's just being aware now of all these things. And in this book, apparently, it says to be conscious of the things around you. And is it giving you a negative vibe or a positive vibe? And if it's giving you a negative vibe, to try and do something about it, because otherwise it does weigh you down, whether you're realizing it or not. And I think you've got to be careful then not to get overwhelmed by the realization of your silent to-do list, because, you know, I've realized, oh my gosh, there is a lot of stuff around here that needs sorting out. But it would take me probably a month to sort this whole house out and get everything sorted. So here's how I've been bringing this down into smaller steps. So number one, I have now one dedicated room where I have hardly any silent to do. So my living room, I've made my living room the space where there are no real silent to-dos in there. So that's my one room of the house where I can go in and it's tidy. There's, nothing around that needs to be sorted. I can go and sit in there and escape all the to-dos that are weighing me down. And that's my one room sorted. So if you can do that, have one space in the home that you can just vacate to, because we can't just vacate out of our whole homes all the time, as lovely as that would be. I'd love to be. I was even thinking this, shall I just start traveling? Shall I just start not having a home and just travel around? I don't think that's gonna fix all my problems, as nice as it would be. But yeah, so I was thinking, because I can't just spend my life out the house and traveling around, what am I going to do? And just having one room is helping, just one room where I can get away from it all. And then what I'm going to do is just taking each room at a time, just creating that snag list. The snag list is the odd job list. So, for example, I've got loads of things in the kitchen, loads of things that are falling apart, and I'm just going to tackle them a little bit at a time. My 3 a week, and just tackle 3 silent to-dos a week where I put things back and, declutter. So decluttering and hiding things away. So someone was saying this week that I do this. They leave things out that need to be done to remember, because if you don't have things out, you'll forget. That's totally me. So I am one of these people. I'll leave stuff everywhere to remind me to do things, because if I put something in a drawer, it's gone and that's it. I'll never remember it again. But having these things out everywhere, all over the place, is adding to this overwhelm and this silent to-do list, and the fact that you can't cope with all of these things, these reminders everywhere. And so the best way to do it, or there isn't a best way, it's finding a way that works for you. The best way for me is to hide it away, but just have my snag list. And I do this for things in work. So I'm very good at, I can plan the year and I've got all these big things going on. And the way I deal with that is I plan them in and then I hide them, and I only face them when it's time to face them. And what I've realized this week with this silent to-do list is that I kind of need to do the same thing at home as well. Hide a lot of things as much as possible, and just put things on the snag list and pull them out a little by little. So I think having somewhere as well, and I think when things get on top, just realizing now I just got to get out of the house. I've just got to go, just got to get out in any way possible. Um, so yeah, there was this other tip as well that I'd been given, which was to just look at each item in the home. I haven't done this yet. Over that whole idea overwhelms me a little bit, but just being conscious of things, going, is this giving me a negative feeling or a good feeling? And if it's negative, put it away, hide it. One of the things that we've started to do here as well is having a home for everything. So I've got this in my art room now and the rest of the house nearly, but everything has a home, everything having a home, and it lives back in its home. And that's been helping massively as well, to just keep in more order and to just have everything put away and finding things again. Because throughout my life, that's been a struggle, trying to find things again. So everything having a home. So we have a mantra here: everything has a home. So I keep drumming into the kids: everything has a home. Where's the home for this? um, so there it is. There's my deep thinking for the week. So being away, having some time away, has really helped me reflect on this. And I feel a big spring clean coming on here. I feel like maybe one day soon I'm just going to take the day off and just be ruthless and get rid of stuff. I definitely work in seasons like this where I kind of have a big declutter and I get everything back, and then my head goes all wonky again and I get sidetracked, and then I'll declutter again. I'm not the kind of person that keeps on top of things. So when I was away, my friend Katie, she is like a machine. There might be some of you listening here who are just like Katie. She is like super meticulous, and if you've used something, it's gone like within an hour. She's put it away, and the house is just so tidy. Everything has a home, and she's always putting things back in the home, and she's moving around all the time, and she's we'd stayed there, and then an hour after we got out of bed, the washing was in the washing machine and put out, and it was amazing to see. But I'm just not like that. I am not that person. So I could see she definitely gets stressed out by a silent to-do list. So her home has no silent to-do list anywhere. So I'll be interested to know what you think of this, whether you have a silent to-do list. Is it something that you've come across before? I'd love to know. Is it something that you've just sat here and thought, oh my gosh, and you're looking around now, maybe you're in your home and you're going, oh, there are silent to-do lists everywhere and you didn't see them and they are weighing you down. You just didn't realize it. So one thing I want to say though is don't, this is not a time to punish yourself going like, oh my gosh, there's so much here to do, and feeling that guilt and that you're a bad person, and just being careful of those feelings because it can make you feel that way. It's about just being kind to yourself, acknowledging it, and then finding the smallest steps to reduce that if it is affecting you like it is affecting me. So I'm just looking into the small steps now to just reduce the silent to-do list. So I hope that's been helpful to you, and I will be back next week for another session. So thank you for joining me. Before I go, let me have a look. I just want to have a look and say hello to you all. Hello. Hi, Adam. It's so good to be back. I really had a nice break. And it's really good now because I woke up this morning excited to be back, which was a good feeling because a week ago I was like, I don't want to come home. Angelina says the Facebook feed is not on. I'm seeing all the Facebook feed. I think it is here and working. Yeah. Oh yeah, Adam says, yeah, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. Yes, I enjoyed the holiday break, Colin. It was so nice. We had such good weather as well, which always makes a difference. I had so much fun with the kids. It was just like being a kid again. I just went to all the bouncy things with them and the parks and stuff like that. We got out a lot. We weren't home much, ironically. Yeah. We were out of the house, out of this freezing cold house that I love. Every time I give it an insult now, I'm giving it a positive as well. Um, oh no, Lindsay's going through it this today. You've been victim of a financial scam. Oh no. Sending you big, big hugs. It's awful. Oh, Rebecca, you had a nice time with the kids too. It is hard to get back into things. It really is, yeah. Oh, bonjour, Amanda. Oh, we have quite a few people tuning in from France. Yeah, I feel rested. Absolutely. Yes, it's the end of April. And I've more or less done nothing all month. Well, Claire, you're in the hub, aren't you, Claire? For hub members, we've got a review plan due session this week together. And whenever people say that to me, that I've got nothing done all month, I always challenge back and say, there must be something that you did this month, because it's impossible to go through a day without doing anything. So you will have done something. So that's the reframe for that one, because when we say I've done nothing all month, it gives us that feeling that I've not achieved anything, I'm rubbish, I should have done more. So rather than feeling that I've done nothing all month, it's I did stuff, and it's finding what those things are and celebrating them. So yeah, you will have done something. Getting out of bed, start there. That's where I start when I feel like I've done nothing. I think, well, I got out of bed every day, actually. And then it extends from that. And then I actually got the kids to school on time. And then I did this. And so if you start there, Claire, you will have done a lot more than you actually realize. It's probably what you were expecting of yourself. Oh, Amanda says, yeah, my old stone house is like that. Yeah, I've tried blocking up the drafts. In fact, I've got a horrible story. I'm not going to share it because it's disgusting, about blocking up the drafts and then things dying, and it was horrible. So now I'm scared. I'm sat here. We've got a big open fire, and you can feel the cold. You just had a refresh, Angelina, and it's working again. That's good. Yeah, lots of people have cold houses. Yeah. And it's the norm for British houses. Julie says, I hear you. I'm overwhelmed with the house as well. The silent to-do list. Yeah, it's coming out my ears. Oh, you've read the book. Brilliant. Okay, that's good. I've just bought a bullet journal, Colin. I haven't used it yet. I need to Google how to use it. So lots of people here use the bullet journal. 31 items, including the jobs that I'd otherwise forget. Okay, that's good. So Colin's got a bullet journal. For those that don't know, you can kind of separate it into sections. Apparently they're brilliant, and I've bought it. It's on my silent to-do list, Colin. It's actually lay on my bed right now. The bullet journal, probably saying things to me like, you bought this and you still haven't used it. So you split yours into 3 sections: top 3, important, and other. That's great. That's so good. This bit is a bit of a chore. It's making me schedule the jobs into gaps. I like that idea. Okay. That's a good tip for everybody, using a bullet journal. Yeah, if it's freezing, it's usually your internet connection. Lots of people are refreshing. Oh my gosh, David said I made a to-do list and stopped at well over 100. Oh my God, you definitely have to hide that one. I think I've had a silent to-do list for the last 30 years. Absolutely, Jenny, I think the same. And I think some people are really good at just zoning out, aren't they, on things as well. And it's like, yeah, learning how to just let things go, and just be. I was talking to Sharon about this, like, just want to just be, instead of like that, just be. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, this was an interesting one, Melanie, because is it women that register the silent to-do list as my husband can't see it? It's really interesting, and I think there's a few things going on here. This is just my view, of course. I was picking this up in the last couple of days as I was researching this topic, and a lot of people were saying this, that they live with other people and you're the one that can see it and no one else can. So there's a few theories, and I think one of the theories is that if you're like the doer in the house, then when you notice something, if it's become your responsibility, whether consciously or not, then you're seeing you. So let me just explain the bins, for example. So if you're the person that usually puts the bins out, then every time you see the bin, it's a trigger for, oh God, have I got to empty the bins? Are the bins full? Now, if somebody else sees the bin, their reaction to the bin might be neutral because it's just the place where they put their rubbish. It might be a positive thing because that's where my rubbish goes and that's where I hide my rubbish. So it's like everybody has a different reaction to the thing in the home. Does that make sense? So not everybody will have a negative reaction to the things that we're seeing. You might have a positive reaction to it. Somebody else might have a negative, depending on how you feel about that item. And if it's become a responsibility of stripping the beds, for example, every time you see the bedding, you just think, oh God, I've got to do the beds. But if that's someone else doesn't have to do that job. They see the bedding and go, oh gosh, it gives them a positive feeling. So there's that. And then I do think there is something in the way that people process information. So I don't think this is necessarily gender related. It's about I think so. I'll give myself as an example. Sometimes if I've got things on my mind, because I've got an ADHD brain, if I've got something on my mind, there could be a toy in the doorway. And this is a true story. So when we were in lockdown, there was a children's toy, quite a big toy, in the doorway of this room here. And every time I walked in the room, I stepped over the toy. And I must have done that for about 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks in, I looked at the toy and I had it was really weird because in lockdown, this is where I realized a lot about myself and the way my brain works. When I looked at the toy, I knew I'd seen it before. It was familiar. So my brain had registered it being there. And I remember looking at it thinking, why have I not picked this toy up? All of a sudden, my doing brain picked it up and went, pick the toy up. It's right in the middle of the doorway, in the way. But for 2 weeks, I hadn't seen it. My brain was preoccupied. The doing brain didn't actually think, pick that up. Now, it's a deep conversation, and I think it could be the way our brains process, like the ADHD, or again, I think if it's something that you're not used to doing, because we are creatures of habit, if it's just something that you're not used to doing, then the brain doesn't kick into action to think to do it. Does that make sense? So I think that's that. The answer. That's my theory on it anyway. I'm sure other people have got views, but brilliant, Michelle. And it feels great. Yeah, and it's so bizarre, isn't it? Because I think sometimes you're going to feel good for getting these things done as well, but this is for me, there's resistance for doing it because sometimes it feels hard work, like taking all that stuff to the skip. I know I'm going to feel amazing after it's gone, but doing it, I'm like, oh God, I've got better things to do. But actually, yeah, this is why I think I've realized I need to carve out some time for the things that I feel like I've got better things to do. I need to carve out some time because I think I'm only realizing this now as I'm speaking. A lot of the things that I do are, the instant gratification and the things that I really, really want to do. That's what I push up to the top of my to-do list. The things that I don't really want to do, I just leave. But then the silent to-do list is growing and growing and growing. So I've got to create some time for the things that I don't want to do, but are going to free up this feeling, like you just said, Michelle, where it's done now and you feel like, a massive relief. Yeah. Um, Thank you. Ashley's got a recommendation here. Brilliant. Kaizen, the Japanese method for transforming habits, one small step at a time. Yes, Ashley, thank you for sharing this because it's about just taking one small action, not trying to fix your whole silent to-do list or your whole house or um yeah, thank you for that. You can even just do one thing because and I think for me, it's finding the one thing that bugs you the most as well. So I think for me, I've answered my own question today. That stuff out there has got to go. It's got to go to the skip. Because every morning I look out and I see it, and it's a big mountain of stuff that's just like, um, yeah. Another tip here, like, yes, and I think what you're saying here is probably what I'm feeling with taking the stuff to the skip. It's probably going to take much less time than you actually imagine. Yes. David. Um, so it's an interesting conversation. Interesting conversation. So I hope that helped. And yeah, when I first heard it, I kind of wanted to push it away because I thought I've got enough things on my real to-do list. I don't want to know what's on my silent one. But actually knowing now, I realize that I can just release a lot of tension and actually enjoy being back in my home again. I want to enjoy coming back to my house, not dread it. So yeah, there we go. So good to be back with you all, and I will see you all very, very soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and take one thing off your silent to-do list and just get it done this week, and then let us know how you feel afterwards. All right, take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.